Hello travelers, Boardman21 here, and today got a 1 to 75 leveling guide for you for the Primalist to Druid that's based around going into the Spriggan form and having vines just absolutely tear through from the moment you get them at level 31 all the way through to the end game, and it'll take you into empowered content and you can end up with an S tier build. It has a very high ceiling of how high you can build it. And just like all the other leveling guides, I'm going to have this broken down within the timestamps for all the different points in which I put points into the skills and passives. I'm also going to have the build planner linked right next to that so that for each of the timestamps, you'll be able to go directly to that build planner so that you can go through it. Now, this was a very easy to level guide. We had a bunch of uniques that we put on to begin with that made it really take off early on. And this guide is mostly for if you want to level up a druid or a shaman before the next patch and have it ready to go into the end game. If you already plan on re-leveling or leveling your character for the first time in 8.4 after the rework, I would just wait till then. This guide will probably be obsolete by the time that patch drops, as there's going to be all new passives and all new skills and a lot of reworks going on for this mastery and this class in general. So let's go ahead and get into it. Alright, travelers, we're level 5. We're still working on some gear. We're wearing some uniques to get us going, but for our first skill, we're going to go ahead and spec into Swipe, and for Swipe, the first point's going to go into Aspect of the Panther. We really want to get into the Pantherness. We're going to end up going some Lightning with it to do some extra damage, as we will be wearing the Stormhide Paws that have lightning damage on them as well. For passives, we have 3 points. The first 3 points that we have are going to go into the Gift of the Wilderness for more health. Just we have some extra survivability. And then for gear, we're wearing the Falcon. We have the Slab on. We have 2 Arboreal Circuits, which increase our move speed nicely. And then we have the Keeper's Gloves. Once we hit levels 6, we're going to put on the Viper Tail, and we're also going to put on the Stormhide Paws. This will get rid of the bees, but we get +1 to swipe, and we get 30 melee lightning damage added to swipe every 3 seconds, which allows you to do really good damage early on in the game. You can wear one-hander and shield. You can wear 2 hands at this point. Either way, it doesn't matter. And that'll be it for this update. I'll see you guys at level 8 when we spec into our second skill. Alright, travelers, we are now level 8, still deathless, 270 HP, 36% cold damage, a little bit of armor, a little bit of dodge still. For skills, we got 3 more points for Swipe. We're going to go ahead and throw 2 of those points into Aspect of the Panther, and then 1 point into Feline Hunter. And then for our second skill, we're going to go ahead and specialize in Summon Thorn Totem. All that matters here is the mana efficiency and the mana back. That's all we care about. So 1 point into Atomic Wisdom. For passives, we've got 4 more points. We're going to put 3 more in Gift of the Wilderness and then 1 into Natural Attunement, so we can build into Wisdom of the Wild later. And then for our inventory, we're still wearing all of the same uniques. The Arboreal Circuit, the Viper Tail, the Slab, and the Falcon. And you can find a helmet, an amulet, and a relic, anything that has resistance or anything that you need. And I'll see you guys at the next update at level 13. Alright, travelers, we are now level 14. We have just over 400 health. Still working on our resist. We got a little extra lightning, some cold. We really need some physical, and void is the main thing that you want in the beginning areas, but we don't have any yet. But we're doing okay. Our main thing is that we're getting health back on hit, thanks to our weapon. A little bit of armor, a little bit of dodge. We have 2 wolves, but we'll go over how we're doing that. First, for the skills, 3 points in swipe. We're going to go ahead and start building into some leech, so 2 points in way of the hunt, and 1 point in the wild calling, so that we have a chance for those spirit wolves that will give us some extra range. There'll be a second attack that can hit the same target as your normal swipe. However, the 3 wolves cannot all hit the same target, so it's just 1 extra bit of damage. They'll do the same damage basis how much swipe damage that you're doing. For summon Thorn Totems, 4 more points. We're going to cap out the Memories of Edera and then put 1 more point into Atomic Wisdom. And then for our passives, we got 7 more. We're going to go ahead and start speccing into getting some health regeneration and strength. So we're going to go with 3 points here, and then all the rest of our points into Wisdom of the Wild, so that we'll have that spell damage ready to go for us and for the minions when we are in the Spriggan form, and we have the vines, which will be based off that minion spell damage. And then for our inventory, we did throw in a claw so we could have maximum number of wolves possible. So right now we have both of them that we can have. When we mastery, we'll be able to have 3 total. And we still have the uniques, the Falcon, the Slab, the Viper Tail, 2 Arbor Circuits, and the Stormhide Paws. We don't have a Relic on and not a Helm, but if you do want one, just throw on some extra resist. You can put some Void Resist on them. You can throw on some extra health. All of that will increase your survivability. And that'll be it for this update. I'll see you guys at level 20 when we spec into our 3rd skill. Alright, travelers, we are now level 20. We've got about 450 health, still working on our resistance, but we have some lightning and cold. Physical and void is still what you want at this point. We've got some armor, a little bit of dodge, and then for our defense, we haven't built into any endurance or critical strike avoidance yet. And for damage, we do have a little extra lightning damage, and we are doing lightning damage thanks to the unique pair of gloves that we have, and our weapon allows us to apply that. For skills, we got 2 more points for swipe. We're going to go ahead and throw both of them into the wild calling, so we have that 45% chance for the spirit wolves, which is basically a little It's going to double our damage whenever that does proc, because we'll get 2 hits for it. 2 more points for Summon Storm Totem, both of them into Atomic Wisdom for that mana efficiency. And then for our 3rd skill, which we will respec into Spriggan form as soon as we gain access. For now, I'm just going to go with Summon Wolf. You can do any skill that you want. I just want a little extra damage at him, so I'm going to put 2 points in the Savage Hunters and 2 points in On the Hunt. Then for passives, we've got 8 more passive points, but I'm only going to put 6 in, save the rest for the Druid form so we can get Spriggan as quick as possible. We're going to go ahead and cap out Wisdom of the Wild, and then put 4 points in Primal Strength. just for that extra strength, which will give us a little extra damage and the health regen for now. We'll end up respecing these later to be more specific to what we want, but this will work for now. And then those 2 extra points we'll save for Druid. We want to get to Spriggan form as soon as possible. And then in the inventory, wearing all of the same uniques, we did find a Pebbler's Collar, which we put on. It's going to give a little extra minion damage for us right now. And we will be taking off a few of these once we're not using swipe anymore. We're going to change out the gloves. Once we find like turquoise rings later in the game, we'll switch out the arbitral circuits. Once you find a chest that has a bunch of health on it, that's going to be better for you. And once we find a helm, we'll go ahead and switch for that. But that's it for this update. I'll see you guys at level 25 when we master into the Druid. Alright, travelers, we are now level 25, about to choose our mastery. We got almost 500 HP, still working on getting some resistance. We haven't really been doing too much crafting. The uniques have been letting us just kind of strive on through real nice and easy. We got about 10% armor, 11% dodge. We're going to go ahead and choose our mastery, which is going to be the Druid. This will give us 20% increased health and mana, and we'll take reduced damage whenever we leave a form. For skills, we got 1 more point for swipe. We're going to go ahead and throw it into having some more hit damage and health leech. We got 2 points for thorn totems. We're going to cap out the totemic wisdom, then 1 point in ancient power and start working towards giving it the armor shred. And then 3 points in summon wolves. Again, as soon as we have enough points, we're going to respec this and go ahead and go with Spriggan. If you like the wolves, you can also respec swipe instead and keep the wolves out while you are in Spriggan form. But for this, I'm going to put 3 more points in on the hunt, so we have more attack speed and move speed for him. For passives, we have 7 passives. We're going to put them all in the Druid. We're going with all 7 points in Bark Skin. This will give us more endurance and armor, so it's just going to increase our survivability for the time being. And then for items, we did find a Taste of Blood, so we went ahead and threw that on. You can see we have almost a leveling unique in every slot. But once we actually go into Spriggan form, we're going to be switching over to a spell damage weapon, so we can have increased minion spell damage on it. And I'll go over that when we get to that update, which will be in about 5 or 6 levels. And that'll be it for this one. I'll see you then. Alright, travelers, we are now level 31 and we have just enough passive points to get the Spriggan going. So we got just about 700 health, we've got some physical resist now, still got some cold and lightning, 20% armor, 11% dodge, and nothing else too special. For skills, we're going to go ahead and unspec swipe. And we're going to put our passive points in so that we can unlock the Spriggan form. It does require the 15 points in Druid form. So for our passive points, we've got 8 more of them. We're going to go ahead and build into the Attunement, and we'll get extra mana with this. So 8 points into Soul's Attendant. That Attunement will increase the damage that we do with the vines. And then for skills, we have 5 points for Spriggan form. There's 2 things that you want to do. We will be building into the Razor Vines, but we're not going to go there first. We also want to make sure that we're getting all of our totems. So we want to have 2 points in Reinforced Totem, 1 point in Spike Totem, so that our healing totems will use the Thorn Totem skill tree. And you only need 1 point in Unbound Garden, and this will allow you to have 3 totems cast at once, and this is how we'll get infinite mana, which I'll show you here in a second. And then we'll put 1 point in Thick Tendrils. The next points, you want to get 2 here, 1 into the bind for additional vines, and then 1 point in Razor Vines. We want to go spell physical vines as soon as possible. For Summon Thorn Totem, we got 2 more points, both going into Impale. And then for the wolves, you can keep them active if you want. I'm going to go ahead and keep them active for now. I'm just going to put 3 more points in Savage Hunters. We did the passives, and then for the inventory, we still have on the uniques. Now that we're going minions, we're going to get rid of our melee weapon, and we're going to go ahead and throw on something that's got minion physical, minion spell damage. Once we get the Razor Vines, that'll be the damage that we are scaling for them. You can do it with a 2-handed staff if you want, but for us, we're just keeping it with a 1-hander so that we can use a shield. Eventually, we'll throw on the Shield of Bastion or the Bastion of Honor so that we can have that reduced damage reduction. And then to show you how this works, when you go into the form, which we'll have to wait for a 20-second cooldown. The other uniques that you can wear at this point, if you want to, you can switch out the chest piece, as this one has the move speed, which is really nice on hit, but right now health is probably going to be better for you, or some more resistances, vitality. So switching that out, and we still haven't put a helm on. Make sure you're looking for one. Vitality, increased flat health is going to be something that's really nice to have there as well. And then for the shield, right now we have the slab on, but feel free to put something else that has a whole bunch of resistance on it or health. And same thing for the amulet. We're not going to be using this anymore. It is nice now just to have the wolves out, but once we get rid of the wolves altogether, we'll be taking the claw off as well. But once you go into the Spriggan form, you're going to have 2 things happening. You're going to summon your vines, which is going to cost your mana, which you're not regenning. And as you run out of that, you'll notice it's going down. The other thing you want to do here is you want to make sure you're summoning your totems. And this is going to give you all that mana back. So you kind of want to go on a 1-to-1 ratio. Every time you summon some vines and reduce your mana, you want to make sure you get some healing totems out there to get the mana back. If you run out, you'll change forms. You got to wait the 20 seconds. And that'll be it for this update. I'll see you guys at level 42 when we update for the next one. Alright, travelers, we're now level 42. We have almost 1,000 health. Still working on resistance, but we haven't had any survivability issues yet. The shield and what we do have for resistance has been keeping us alive quite well. Plus, we have the healing totems. As long as you stay near them, they'll be healing you quite quickly. For minions, we do have some minion global damage, and we have 140% minion spell damage, which is really allowing our vines to hit really, really hard. For skills, we have 8 more points for Spriggan, but I've already played a bunch of them, so we capped out the thick tendrils. We put 2 points in vine and 1 point in razor vines, and then the last point that I have, I'm going to go ahead and start putting into creeping vines, so there's a chance when they decay for them to respawn another 5 where they were at. We got 3 more points for summon thorn totem, all 3 going into shred armor, so that the healing totem, thorn totems will have a armor shred chance. For the wolves, we're not really using them, but if I continue to spec into them, I'm going to go ahead and go for ice bite, so 1 point in tundra stalkers and 3 points in frozen fangs. As our 4th skill, going to go for ice thorns, just so that there's a chance when we get hit that these will proc. So we're going to put 3 points in dagger thorns, 2 points in bramble armor, 4 points in spell thorns. We'll cap that out next, and then we'll go into some recast and just some extra armor for us, and that'll increase our survivability. For passives, we got 16 more points. I'm going to go ahead and put 8 points into Woodler. This is going to give me a whole bunch more health, as well as give me some poison resist. The other 8 points you can build into whatever you want for yourself. However, if you're trying to do for minions, you want anything that has, like for instance, Blossoming Vines. The minion healing effectiveness is going to make the healing totems heal more, and this will get you to be healed more as well. So we're going to go ahead and put 8 points there. This will give us a bunch of health, and then the minion healing effectiveness will make the totems heal us for more to help increase your survivability. And then for items, we did switch to that one that we have. We haven't taken off the claw yet, but we're going to be looking for a new amulet. At level 50, we'll be putting on the Legacy of the Quiet Forest. We'll be putting on the Bastion of Honor. It is about time that we switch out the Falcon with something that maybe has life or resistance or vitality on it. So this will be the changes we make here between level 42 and 50. But that's it for this update, and I'll see you guys at level 50 for the next one. Alright, travelers, we're now level 50. We've got just over 1,300 health. We've capped down our poison resist, still working on our void, and we've started to gather up some void resist. Got about 25% armor. We do have 100% block chance against nearby enemies thanks to the Bastion of Armor, which we farmed on our main Void Knight auto bomber character that we did, and that'll reduce our damage taken from all hits that are nearby inside the circle by 38%. For our damage types, we don't have anything, but for the minion damage, we're still sitting at that 140% minion spell damage, and they have some bleed chance as well, but that's coming from a helm that we found. For defense, we do have some endurance. We still have no critical strike avoidance, but at level 51, we can then put on the woven flesh, which will give us 100%, which will really help our defense really take off. For skills, we got 2 more points for Spriggan form. We're going to go ahead and continue to put into creeping vines for an increased chance when a pair of vines dies that they'll be resummoned. For summon thorn totem, 1 more point in shred armor. For summon wolf, we're not using it anymore. If you want to use it, you can. I'm just going to keep specking into it so you can see what I would put. For ice thorns, we have 9 more points. We're going to cap out the spell thorns. We're going to put 1 point in Nim affiliate, 1 point in thorn shield, so when we get hit we can have that increased armor. And then we'll have the 4 points in bulb shield for a recast chance on that hit. And then for our last skill, you can do anything that you want here. I'm going to go ahead and spec into another pet, which will be the summon Sabertooth if you just happen to want one. And for him, we're going to go with a bunch of melee attack speed and bleed chance just for more bleed for the minions. So we're going to go with 1 engaging claws, 2 points in fury swipes, 1 point in frenzy, and then the rest of our points in patient predator for all that damage over time modifier. For passives, we have 8 more points. We're going to go back to the Beastmaster class, and we're going to go ahead and put all 8 points in Yrsane's strength, so we take less damage from nearby enemies. We're then going to build into Boarheart, and then we also want the Chase. These 8 points is going to give us a bunch of minion cast speed, which is going to help our vines do a bunch more attacks per second. And then in our inventory, like I said, we switched over to the Bastion of Honor. We have the Legacy of the Quiet Forest at level 51. We're going to go ahead and throw on the Woven Flesh. If you have the Reach of the Grave, you can wear that. If you have Eric's Bones, you can wear that. However, we'll be taking off the gloves. These are pretty useless for us now, as well as the claw, also pretty useless for us as well. We'll be switching those two on as soon as we find something better to replace them. For the boots, move speed's basically the main thing that we were going for. And again, the chest, like I said, next level, we're going to go ahead and swap it out with the woven flesh, as this isn't really doing us any good now either. And that's it for this update. I'll see you guys at level 55 for the next one. We're level 55. We've got just about 1400 health. We've capped out the poison, still working on the physical, void, and necrotic, and our elemental, but the elemental we're waiting just for the right idols to fall for us. We got about 30% armor, no dodge at this point. We do have the 100% critical strike avoidance thanks to the woven flesh, and we're going to be working on getting a pair of gloves and getting our endurance up. We'll probably go with the engraved gauntlets. For our damage, we don't have anything as we're not doing very much. For minions, we have 231% minion spell damage thanks to an exalted tier 6 sword that we found with minion spell damage on it. And then our minions do have a little bit of bleed chance as well. For skills, we got 1 more point for Spriggan form. We're going to keep putting into Creeping Vines. 1 more point for the Thorn Totems. That's going to go into the Shredding Armor. 1 point for Summon Wolf, going into the Tundra Stalkers for the flat cold damage. 1 point in Ice Thorns, going into Bark Shield for some extra armor. And then for the Saber, we're going to cap out the Patient Predator. Put 1 point into Heavy Paws for the extra melee damage. And then build into some defense. So if you're trying to keep it alive, this health regen is really nice because it increases the amount of health regen, the flat minion health regen that you can put on gear. So if you are running the Saber and you want it to stay alive, this 280%, say you have a tier 5 affix of 70 health regen, you'll increase this by 300%, which basically means you have tier 5 on 3 different pieces. So it's very effective for keeping your Saber alive. It'll have very, very high survivability. And then for passives, we got 5 more passive points. We're going to go ahead and throw 4 of them into Boar Heart. And then as we continue up, we're going to go with some more health. And if you're running only the Saber, you can put a point in Arter's Legacy. This will make your Saber have even more survivability. And then we're going to be putting into both the Chase, and we're going to be building into Porcine Constitution. And then for our gear, we do have the Woven Flesh, we have the Bastion of Honor, we have the Legacy of the Quiet Forest, we have 2 Arbral Circuits. We'll be switching out one of these pretty soon, but the move speed is still really nice. And we're still looking for a pair of gloves and an amulet to trade out because the Claw and the Storm Hide Paws are not doing us any good at this point. And that's it for this update. I'll see you guys at level 65. Alright, travelers, as you can see now we're level 65, just over 1600 health. We've got our resistance almost capped on Void, Poison, and Physical. We got a little bit of cold, still working on the Elemental, but that'll come when we get the idols of increased Elemental resist while transformed. We have 30% armor, which we will be building into. Armor is very strong for us. For skills, we have 2 more points for Spriggan form. We're going to go ahead and remove the Razor Vines as we don't want to do any spell physical damage. We're going to go back to the melee Poison Vines, and they're going to get poison chance per point of attunement. So you want to start stacking as much attunement as possible. And now we have 3 points that we can put back in, and we're going to build around the melee minions for this. We're going to go ahead and cap out Creeping Vines and then 2 more points into Reinforced Totem, or 1 more point into Reinforced Totem, and we'll continue to cap that out. For Summon Thorn Totem, 2 points into Winged Thorns so that the armor shred goes further. For Summon Wolf, if you're playing it, we have 2 more points both into Tundra Stalkers. For Ice Thorns, 2 more points both into Bark Shield, and then for the Saber, 2 more points into Constitution to improve their survivability. For passives, we have 10 more points. We're going to go ahead and put 2 more points in Call of the Pack, 5 points in the Chase, and then we can start building into Axe and Claw, which will give some melee minion physical damage to the minions. But again, we really want to make sure we're building into Attunement, get as many points of Attunement as possible, as that's going to make your vines do tons more damage. At 75 points in Attunement, you will end up having 300% poison chance per vine, and you'll have a ton of vines, so build into that. And then for our inventory, again, we have the Fangon that's going to give the melee physical damage for minions. We have the Bastion of Honor, the Woven Flesh, Legacy of the Quiet Forest, and for our 2 uniques, we're going to be switching out the sword so that we don't have the minion spell damage. We're trading that for minion melee damage, and because we have a lot of bleed chance for the vines as well, we have damage over time for them as well. And then for our ring, this is just for a lot of health. We still need to change out the gloves. These are completely useless at this point. And for the other ring, we're going to go Ribbons of Blood as soon as we find one and are wearing it. And that'll be it for this update. I'll see you guys at level 75. Alright, travelers, we are now level 75, so this will be the final update for this build leveling guide. We are capped on Void, Poison, and Physical Resistance. We have quite a bit of Elemental and Necrotic. We are missing a little bit of Fire, but we can work on that later. We got about 34% armor, and we do have the Bastion of Honor on, so we do have that 100% block chance with an additional 33% damage reduction. No real damage for us, it's all going to be the minions. So for the minions, they are sitting at just about 200% global damage. And they have a ton of poison chance since that scales with attunement. We got 46 points of attunement, but we're going to skyrocket that up. We should have 64 right after this update. And for defense, we are still working on getting the endurance capped and our critical strike avoidance capped. We are missing a little bit of both. For skills, we got 2 more points for summon Spriggan form. We're going to put both of those in Unbound Garden. This is going to allow you to have more maximum healing totems, and what this allows is so that when you cast 3, it's not replacing the 3, and therefore you can have the 3 that are still healing you while you cast some more additional ones. So you will have more active ones. Now we should be able to have 5 total, which will be really nice, so that we're always having heals incoming. For Summon Thorn Totem, 1 more point, going to go ahead and put it in Winged Thorns. For Summon Wolf, if you're using them, I'm just going to keep capping out the Tundra Stalkers. For Ice Thorns, 1 more point in Bark Shield, and for Sabertooth, 1 more point in Constitution. For passives, we're going to respec the 7 points in Primal Strength and put them into Natural Attunement, so we're going to go ahead and cap that out. Then we're going to run to the respec ladies so that we can respec them. And you want to get as much attunement as possible on the build because the attunement gives your vines, the melee vines that we've switched back to, increased damage. Your healing totems will have increased healing. And of course, the vines will get 4% poison chance per point of attunement. So we're going to unspec all 7 of these points. And then in the Druid form, we're going to put 10 points into Eternal Nature. This will give us 10 more points of attunement and a bunch of flat health. And as you can see for our character sheet, this puts us up to 53 points of attunement. So we've got a lot more. And that'll jump up once we go back into Spriggan form here. Boom, there we go. Now we're at that 63, which is really nice for us. For our inventory, we have a Tempest Maul because it comes with attunement. You could dual wield those if you want. If you're feeling tanky enough and don't need a shield on, go ahead and dual wield the Tempest Mauls for even more attunement. It's an easy way to get them. We still have the Legacy of the Quiet Forest on just for that mana back. It makes it really nice and smooth. You can change out the Fang. We don't need this anymore, but we just still have it at the moment. But we will be switching that out for something with minion damage on it or minion health and some health for us and a resistance. And then for everything else, we're just going for critical strike avoidance and as much health as possible. For idols, currently we have some vitality. We do want to get some more elemental resistance while transformed. 1 more of these would make it to where we're basically capped on elemental, which would be really nice. You can get minion chance to bleed, vitality, or you could just do hybrid health idols, or even get some resistance that you're missing if you're missing any. And that'll be it for this update and this leveling guide. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.